Kidzs, the disaster Drawcast. I am your host, Felonous Felone. Tonight I am joined by fellow cryptid and artist.
Yeah.
Introduce yourself.
Oh, yeah. My name is Aj, like Mirage, without the myrrh, because I got that on my birthday. I am the goblin that hides under your bed and steals loose change and toenails.
Hell yeah. And as you can see, they are amazing. They are awesome. And they have also stolen my toenails.
They're mine. Oh, mine.
Alright, and now, huzzah, we join each other to talk for, I think this is now only our second time speaking verbally.
Mostly we just, text each other late at night going, oh my god, what the fuck?
Mostly we text each other being like, why is witch talk like this?
God. Just, witch talk, why do? And you're just like, why?
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, witch talk is a fascinating thing to look at, mostly because it genuinely is the new generation spellsofmagic.com, and it's just like, we are watching a new generation of spellsofmagic.com fans.
Right.
And that's sad on many levels, mostly because we remember spellsofmagic.com.
Oh, God's right. I actively just was like, nope, not gonna go here, and
Should we explain to the damningly uninitiated what the madness which was spellsofmagic.com? Because it's one of those, you really only knew it if you were a beginner witch or just somebody looking for magic online in the early to mid 2000s.
Oh god, I saw some weird ass shit on there, okay?
Oh gosh, I mean, we all did. I mean, for one, I think it's obvious that spellsofmagic.com was a spell site, but I think we can't preface enough how it was a site full of both real and fake magic spells, and only the dangerous ones are real.
Right, you're just like, no.
Okay, did you ever notice that in the wish section, somebody had a summon an incubus spell?
Oh, God.
Somebody had that. Somebody specifically had that in the wish section, and I can say with genuine certainty that it probably would have worked. It was pretty damn official. It had all of the ingredients. It had all of the things. And this person's like, yeah, I regularly summon an incubus to do weird sex shit. And I'm like, I mean, good on you. Also, that does not sound safe. I don't care what your post says. It is not healthy to tell teenage girls, yeah, just summon an incubus for a good time. For a good time. Burn 6 black candles.
Oh, God.
Call 1-800-incubus.
And it's not even, the goddamn, band.
It's genuinely you'd have that spell, and you'd have a summon your anime boyfriend spell next to it, and it would be some this is how you make a golem from pure spiritual energy. Print out a JPEG of your favorite anime boy and bury it in the ground.
Oh god. Hey, so thinking about the succubus thing.
Mm-hmm.
How many people did that thinking they were gonna get the band succubus?
just imagining, like, doing that. Oh, I'm imagining the reverse. Somebody hoping that they get their big-tittied, demon waifu, only to find that it's an actual band, and then they're disappointed, because, like, really? Really? I came here because I was promised succubus. And this is what you deliver me, and it's like, not our fault you didn't read the fine print, buddy. No refunds or exchanges.
None. Now I'm trying to think about what songs they did. It's been, like, forever since I've listened to them, so, like...
there's a part of me that almost misses Spells of Magic, if only for the absolute hilarity of the young witches who would be like, well, yes, I got a spell on how to transform into a mermaid.
Oh, God. Yeah, I was looking up shit when I was younger, because, reasons.
I mean, valid.
And then I kept getting that website, and I was like, why am I getting this website? This is not helping me at all, especially since it was like, how to turn into a fae. I'm like, no, I need answers to my questions. I don't want to turn it into a fae.
And also, I'm gonna be real, nobody should be wanting to turn into a fae.
You either are, you aren't, and if you...
If you get churned into a fae, I'm gonna say you probably fucked up somewhere along the way.
Yeah, I mean, like,
cause you ain't getting churned into a good one. That's servant for all eternity levels shit.
Yeah, like, I mean, I may joke that I'm a changeling, but that has, like, actual stuff behind it. Like,
I cannot express how much seeing kids on TikTok be like, I'm gonna go make deals with the fae makes me die inside, because I'm like, no, please, small child, come back, you are going to get yourself killed.
Like, please don't do that. There's reasons as to, oh, okay, you're gonna do it. Alright, well, nice knowing you.
It was nice while it lasted. Like, this is sadly the big thing about there being the people on TikTok who I want to hope that it's just that they're ignorant, but I also know that there are some of them that they literally are just going out of their way to give bad advice, because every generation has their Aleister Crowley.
Oh, God's right. And, like, there's some people who are like, I'm trying to give you good advice and telling you, no, stop it. And then people go, and they don't. And you're like, just listen, just...
I would like to ruin your day with one simple word, astral projecting into the anime world. I just heard the life leave your body.
Right, just, oh, sweet summer child.
I feel bad for any person who believes that they can actually do that.
Right, just, sweet honey.
You have bought the bill of lies. You were sold a very big bill of lies and deceit if you think that there is a way to get into the anime world through astral projecting.
No, it's called, just daydream like the rest of us. Come on.
Yeah, like, I may make occasional jokes, but I'm like, even I know that, like, I may make the occasional joke like, yes, I use astral projecting so that I can hang out with Isaac for that 5 minutes on the bus, but I'm like, I know this is a daydream, mostly because if I was going to astral project into the anime world, do you think I would choose to just be on a bus?
Right.
Okay, this is my metaphorical fantasy for how much I want to spend time with a fictional character in proof of how much I like them. How desperate am I as a thirsty hoe to spend a full 5 minutes just sitting with them awkwardly staring at each other on a bus?
Right. Like, come on.
I just past life regression is now a trend.
Oh, God's right. Oh, and I'm just like, oh, God's, please, no, please. I had to deal with all that shit. Please, no, you don't want it. You really don't want it. You really, really don't want it.
I can safely say, it is, no. I would like my refund, please.
Right, just please, no. I don't know if you understand this, but no, you don't. Let me tell you, you don't.
You really don't.
Do that.
You really don't. Okay, like, I'm gonna say, considering the weird ass stuff that we've had.
Yeah.
We can safely say most recently, we definitely are like, past lives? People want that? Nope.
Right.
Like,
just nope.
No. That, also, I'm gonna say this, is, like, probably the weirdest Halloween I've had in years.
I thought I was gonna have a nice, calm Halloween. It was gonna be low key for a change, and then all of a sudden, past life was like, "Hey." And I was like, "Oh God, no." No. It was your fault though. You were the one who brought it up. You were the one who brought it up, and then me with my dumbass brain that is like, hey, we're now going to hyperfixate on this and ruin your life. And then it's literally like, I mean it when I say, when you told me that, I was 5 minutes away from passing out and going to bed after watching Heaven's Official Blessings first episode for the third time that day. Mm-hmm. And then you messaged me that, and I was like, no. Mind, third eye, no. Anyone who wants to actually be a witch, I'm just gonna say, you really don't. Not as much as you think you do. Do you want to be sitting there at 2 a.m. fast asleep, and you wake up and because you're like, the prophecy says that the one shall open the door to many, and as the door opens, we shall see the light, but the light is not the light. The light is also something else. Right, there will be a new sun, and you must keep walking to the new dawn. And I'm just like, what the?
What?
No.
What does that mean? What does it mean? That is what being a witch really is about. It's getting cryptid ass messages and just staring into the void, going, all I wanted was to know, am I gonna get the job, tarot cards? I did not need your judgment on my life choices. Meanwhile, tarot cards are like, you are an unhappy and unfulfilled Poe. Fix yourself.
I love my tarot cards. Actually, I hate my tarot cards, but I love my tarot cards, because I think I once, mentioned it to you that, my tarot cards literally will, bitch slap me.
I like that my tarot cards, 90% of the time, all they tell me is, bitch, calm down. Even when I'm reading for other people, it's always just, bitch, calm down.
Right. One time my roommates were like, oh, hey, you have tarot cards, right? And I'm like, cool, yeah, no, cool, I'll read for you. And they didn't realize what they were getting themselves into, because, whenever I read for them, they were like, why is this stick coming for my throat? And I'm like, I warned you.
The dick come for you. That just be how dick is.
Right.
You get dicked down by the deck.
And they're just like, I didn't think this. And this one time, my roommate was like, I'm going to break up with my boyfriend, or I think I'm breaking up with my boyfriend. What should I do? And my deck was like, you haven't broken up with him already? What the fuck?
I mean, I like that people for some reason will ask for relationship advice with tarot decks, which is like kind of really the one thing you shouldn't ask. Because tarot decks are consistently like, bitch, you have more important things to get in order.
Yeah. This one was kind of like not the best relationship, you know, kind of borderline abusive, so like...
So the deck being like, you mean you didn't already? You know
you need to get out. You need to get out right now. You know you need to get out, and you know that I know that you need to get out. What the fuck? And basically just like taking their dick and just putting it through the ringer. And it was like, you asked.
If you ever really want... honestly, my favorite things are also the decks that are just like, listen, you are so stupid. Because there are decks that are just like, you was such a stupid hoe, and those are some of my favorites. Mm-hmm. Mostly because I relate to that, because usually when people ask me to read for those decks, I'm like, honey, you know the answer. Why are you asking me?
Right. Like, I mean, that's why I don't usually read unless I'm at a crossroads in my life, and I know I'm in a crossroads in my life, and I'm just sticking around, and I need some extra validation.
I mean, I have a kind of a strict personal rule of never reading for myself. Mm-hmm. Because to me, like, tarot cards, I mean, everyone has this idea that tarot cards tell the future. It's more like tarot cards are like, here is some general advice. You are an idiot. That's about the attitude tarot cards actually have, and like for me personally, I often find that like if I need to consult tarot cards, I'll go to someone else because their reading won't have the influence that my own, like they will give me the future that they are seeing rather than the one that I will just influence by sheerly reading my own cards, because also my deck has consistently proven to just say, bitch, shut up. It's fine. And it's like, no, I want actual advice cards. Give me real advice, so I'll go to other people. And also, you know, I prefer to not read the future, mostly because, like, when you can occasionally just glimpse it by accident, reading tarot cards has this kind of don't do it vibe.
Oh, right. Like, honestly, like, sometimes you'd be like, la 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 la, oh shit, and then you just kind of go to the tarot cards and they're like, ah ha ha ha, you thought, and you're just like, oh fuck.
I will say, the funniest thing is I did do tarot cards right before COVID happened. Right before everything for this COVID drama went down, I did do a reading with some friends, and basically everybody got the Hermit.
I mean, fair.
I mean, we all were retreating, but I think the funniest thing is, like, I had another friend who was like, the Ten of Swords, that's a bad card. I'm like, yeah, I mean, it is the Ten of Swords. It's kind of the oh fuck card. Like, the minor arcana's version of the oh fuck card, but... Mm-hmm. But she was like, I need you to do another reading to figure out more specifically what this is about, and I'm like, you already asked my deck to read to you about your love life. It is only gonna fuck with you from here, but I understand this will make you feel better. Alright. Right. And it very much gave it a whole, listen, people are gonna die. this is gonna be shitty, and you're gonna feel pretty isolated. Also, creative projects might fall apart.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
But it was really funny, because I could tell my deck was like, really? Hasn't she watched the news? Because also we had just gotten the announcements about COVID. And why are people still not taking COVID seriously?
Oh, God, it's because they're dumb idiots.
Oh, gosh. I think the sad part about my mom being a food delivery driver is that for delivering to things like airports and stuff is she was telling me that she was delivering to one of the airports, and someone came in. It wasn't even 9 o'clock. Came in, marched in, and was like, "This is a free country. I don't need to wear a mask. Trump's America! Trump's America! Trump's America!" And just shouted over and over and, like, made a whole fuss. And then another guy was literally, she thought it was a deranged homeless man. But this guy was, just screaming his support for Trump. Blocking up traffic in a busy intersection, all because they needed to scream about Trump and how the election is theirs, it's all fraud, all a lie, COVID is a lie, there are no need for masks, and it's like, shut up.
Mm-hmm.
It's that stupidity of seeing that and knowing it's not even 10 a.m.
Well, crazy doesn't sleep, so...
I mean, it doesn't. Look at me. Crazy doesn't sleep, but I wish that sometimes it did.
Or would sleep too much in my case, but...
we also had so many people at work today just blatantly be like, "Oh, I don't need a mask." And it's like, no, you do! City ordinances are still active. Please put the fucking mask on. You're not the only person in this restaurant.
But, yeah, I am... Oh, I hate when people always think they're the exception. No, you're not. I only know a few people who are exceptions, especially with what... Oh my god. You know, after, like, our Halloween, where we're just kind of like, shit, right?
Right.
So I was thinking, you know what, maybe I should warn Witch Talk, and then I started making the video, and I was like, nah.
Witch Talk can figure it out on their own. Witch Talk and all of their jar cursings and, various let's hex the moon. I still don't understand what the point of that was.
I don't...
I know it's been months, and I know this is old hat news, but waking up to my friend, because I don't have TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a social media person. It just, I barely have the spoons for Tumblr. I could not handle TikTok. I would look at it for 5 minutes and scream.
That's fair.
But, the biggest thing of it all is just, I look at Witch Talk, and and everything that I see, and I woke up to my friend being like, OMG, they hexed the moon, and just died inside, because all I could think of was specifically someone saying, I'm gonna hex the moon! In that tone! I could only hear that in that tone, and I just couldn't stop laughing the entire day, and I just died trying to comprehend why anyone would hex the moon. It's the moon. What do you gain from this?
It's one of those things where I'm just like,
If I don't think about it, maybe it'll stop existing.
Right.
Witch Talk, are you alright? Witch Talk, are you okay?
Right, no, like, it was just, I can't. Like, I was following like this person, and I was like, and she's so cute. I think I shared like some of her TikToks with you.
Yeah, I know. I've occasionally gone back to look at their stuff because, like, yes, someone who speaks truth.
Right. like, I follow them, and I'm just kind of, even just following them was just like, what the actual fuck? And they're just like, okay, so let me tell you how bad you are and how horrible you are. And I was like, yes, drag them.
Please. Like, I love that also they did a mass hexing they did a mass hexing, and I think it was supposed to be against the people who were against Black Lives Matter movements or whatever and everything, but at the same time, it just seemed like a directionless hex towards the masses. And it's like, why would you want that right now? This is not the time for hexing. Also, hexing is a last resort.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the reason you don't hex, rule of three. You've seen the craft at least. Like, if not the craft, at least practical magic.
Right, it's just, okay, come on, but nah. There's only a few times where I've actively gone after someone, but that's because they're an abusive piece of shit, and they got me really angry, and I am a Capricorn moon, Aries sun. No, I'm a Capricorn sun, Aries moon, and Leo rising. So when you piss me off, I get pissed off.
Oh, hello, Tyler! Thank you for joining us for our stream. Oh, Taylor from, the... Yeah!
Hi, Taylor!
Yeah, they're listening in!
Hi, Taylor! You're great and amazing, and we like you!
Yeah, they're okay.
Hey.
I mean, I would have done this joke regardless of who it actually was. I'm full of dad humor.
Mm-hmm.
It's a natural side effect.
And my friend is actually DMing instead of me. Like, fuck. But, like, so we've been doing it on Zoom, and I've just been screen sharing and putting on, and using Photoshop because, you know, how you can have the,
Right.
the guides, and I just have guides for 5 increments, and then I could just do whatever I need willy-nilly on the fly. And so he's like, here's what we're gonna do tomorrow. So I've just been doing that. Now I have to do...
That's valid.
Yeah, now I just have to do math, so like 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, 65, 70, 75, 80, 85, 90. Okay, I was right.
Don't strain your brain, honey. We all know that gays can't do math.
Oh, I can't do math.
There's something about being on the LGBTQ plus spectrum that destroys your ability to do math. I don't know what it is. I think that it's that we trade a sense of fashion for the ability to count higher than 10.
Yes, considering the fact that I was wearing my pajamas because I decided not to actually get out of my pajamas, and then since I was like, oh, this looks horrible, I threw on a egg shirt, like a shirt that looks like a dad Hawaiian shirt, but with like egg printed on it.
Honestly, I would own that shirt. That sounds amazing. Just
It
egg.
is.
so
Just egg.
it can offer me an egg in these trying times.
Right, it's just little fried eggs all over it, and it's blue and cute, and I'm like, yay, eggs.
That's honestly an amazing sounding shirt.
It is, it's so great. And one time I was wearing that, and like, since it's like loose and like flowy, so like, it hides all shape whatsoever, not that I have shape. I am an incorporeal being, please and thank. But like, I was wearing it like tucked into like the front of my pants, doing the Tan France little French tuck with my like studded belt, and I was like, oh, this is what gender euphoria feels like.
It feels like egg shirt.
Just egg shirt and stud belt.
That is a dream. That is, I don't know which dream, but it is a dream. God, why does fashion for gender have to be so annoyingly weird?
Right.
Like, I mean, you've been hearing me scream at you about trying to find anything OG for like Lolita fashion, and I'm just sitting there going, why is so much of this just black? Where is my color? Okay, I do not come to Lolita fashion because I wanted subtlety.
Right. I mean, oh god. Now you're see, I have this problem. I have this really, really bad problem where I'm just like, well, I have the tools and the ability to do this. Why don't I? And then I get into weird hobbies because I have the whole mentality of it doesn't exist, well, make it. Which doesn't help the fact that I have ADHD and depression, and so nothing happens. But, like, you just made me want to make an Etsy shop where I can make OG clothes in, like, powder blue.
Which, honestly, would be great, because, like, also, it doesn't help that 90% of OG clothing is not OG. It's a subset of OG called Kodana.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, Kodana is not OG. It's not. Because OG is, the difference between Kodana and OG is one of them is the butler to the Victorian prince. One of them is, like, the child butler, and the other one is the Victorian prince who gets to wake up, roll out of bed, and go, Dudley, fetch me the champagne. And I don't want to be the butler.
No, it's 2020. Let me have my dreams of being rich, please.
I am not a butler, okay? I am not the help. Do I look like do I look like I'm wanting to dress like the help? No. I don't want to dress like a kid who's gonna go work in a factory, or who is weirdly just sitting on a bed surrounded by stuffed animals 24/7. No. I want to dress like a Victorian mess who rolled out of bed and asked Dudley for the champagne, even though it's only 8 a.m.
I understand that.
Plus,
Like, Dudley.
Dudley, where's my champagne? It's already past 9.
I'm gonna pop the biggest pills. I'm gonna pop the biggest champagne bottles for Supernatural.
Can I just say that the only thing that has made me get through this day today is that Supernatural has made a comeback on Tumblr.
Right.
I don't know what to think of it.
I was going through so much emotional whiplash that I can't think of it. I can't do it.
I can't believe it, especially because, okay, I wasn't an obsessed... I wasn't, like, a supernatural, super Hulock fan, but I had friends who were.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I remember having the one friend who wouldn't shut up about Destiel. I remembered the Misha Apocalypse and the DashCon Paul Pitt GIF post. I unfortunately am one of those people who's like, I've seen the old world, okay? I know of the old land. So seeing this and seeing Tumblr devolve back to 2012, it's kind of beautiful.
Oh, it's so beautiful.
I wish that we could go back to the era of fandom before liking anything suddenly made you have to write an entire essay about how, yes, I understand that there is one problematic element in the entire thing, and therefore, unless I acknowledge that this thing is problematic, I can't like it, but if I do like it, that makes me a horrible person, and probably someone that eats babies. Also, I'm gonna harass a voice actor and dox them, and potentially kill an artist at an artist alley, because I don't like their ships for Voltron.
Oh, we don't talk about Voltron for specific reasons.
I mean, I like to talk about it only in terms of how much of a train wreck it is.
Oh god, it was such a train wreck. Such a train wreck. Like, oh my... Like, I watched it. I'm not gonna be proud of that, but I watched it. And, let me tell you. I was in a part of the fandom because I was like, nope, I'm just gonna watch this and then so I can understand all of these posts, but that was a train wreck. The
sad thing is it really was a case of, I thought that the first season was clunky but likable, and I was interested to see where it went, and then it proceeded to do everything wrong. And what I hated most about it is that it always had just enough room where it seemed like it could still recover. You know?
Mm-hmm.
In much that same way that fans of Sherlock ignored that Sherlock was bad. In hindsight, I was trying to do that with Voltron. Like, I wasn't fandom enthusiastic, I wasn't shipping Clance or anything, but my whole thing was, I just wanted a good ride. Because I rarely get a good ride out of a show. And then... I think the episode that truly made me realize that because I unfortunately was giving it too much benefit of the doubt up until the late game, but the episode that I think that really cemented it for me of there was nothing redeemable or ever could be redeemable about Voltron was the game show episode.
Oh, yeah.
Because, okay, so a game show episode should be all about the character interaction. Like, the reason everybody loves this Space Mall episode is because it's a pure character interaction episode. It's nothing but fun character interactions. In that regard, it makes complete sense why the fandom absolutely loves and adores that episode.
Right.
And I adore that episode. It's one of the few episodes that I would ever consider rewatching if I still liked the show. If is carrying a lot there. But the big thing about that episode is that it is genuinely, one, a plot progression happens, two, it does show you different sides of these characters that you've come to know and love, but also, you know, it reestablishes some ideas you already had. And, like, it's just a good romp, and it doesn't feel like a waste of time. Meanwhile, that game show episode is just a shit on Lance episode. A character who does not deserve it.
Right.
Like, the fandom, if it was not for fanfiction, you really wouldn't know anything about Lance. The fandom basically wrote the characters for the showrunners.
Right, and they didn't even give them credit.
They didn't give them credit, and also, like, the big thing about it is, so, there's so much thematically that does not make sense at all in Voltron, to a point that I genuinely think they just went with the plot that would annoy us most. Or nobody had any idea how they wanted it to go at any given point, which seems more likely.
They did not know whatsoever.
It really, again, it just also, it's one of those things too, with how they treat Lance is absurdly mean-spirited.
Right. That's why the fandom was like, this is our baby, I'm sorry, no.
Like, the fandom treated Lance the way they did because the show was constantly doing everything in their power to shit on him. And, and it's a sad thing. It is a sad thing to know how a fandom has to treat a show better than its actual showrunners. And I think the thing that gets me is I can tell people tried while working on Voltron, but I don't think anybody actually wanted to write Voltron by the midway point.
Yeah, they were just like, meh.
And, yeah, and, like, you know, part of that might have been because fandom did what it did. Another part of it might be that, you know, people just not wanting to and giving, to work on the project. Like, we'll never know fully what went on, but we know enough to know that Voltron at the end of the day was a disgusting waste, and also, I can't believe that they really buried their gays so hard that when Adam God, Supernatural doing this at last. Supernatural confirming Destiel in the most homophobic way possible.
I mean, that's fair, especially since they were kind of, ooh, for like the last 12. They were just like, we're gonna queerbait you so you think that they're in a relationship for 12 years, and now all of a sudden we're just like, fine, this is our last season. We're going to be homophobic about it. And you're like, okay, what do you want me to do?
I think it's absolutely amazing that they chose to at last give in and do the thing, but they couldn't just not do everything in their power to render it worthless. Like, even the editing for that scene is ultimately hilarious, because every heartfelt moment is cut with a shot of Dean just looking completely expressionless.
Right.
And then the demon banging in the background. It's literally a perfectly timed comedic editing. And if I didn't know better, I would say this was a comedic scene.
Right, not supposed to be like emotional scene.
I think it's also funny that, like, Misha's just trying so hard. Like, he's genuinely doing so much weight lifting in his acting, and, like, this show is giving him nothing. Like it's always done.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't wait for them to be like, well, you know, we always knew they were queer. And it's like, don't you remember all those times when you told us we should feel stupid for thinking that this show was queer baiting us?
Right? Because, why would you want to do that?
I can't wait because of this, as we all know, Stephen Moffat now has to release the John Locke conspiracy secret episode of Sherlock.
Oh, fuck, no. No, please, no.
I think it's really funny that this happened literally a few days after Sarah Zed, posted her video on the John Locke conspiracy.
Right, and she's like, come on.
Like, she's like, guys, it's all absurd and ridiculous. And then this happens, and I'm like, and now they feel entitled. Prepare for the next wave. I just can't wait to see what becomes of fandom tomorrow. Meanwhile, the 2020 election.
Right, no. Okay.
Like,
so, like, after I woke up today and, like, after, like, 3, when, like, all of this has really kind of died down, I was like, alright, so what is fandom gonna do today? Alright, come on, fandom. Can't top that, come on, and it just hasn't, so I'm like, okay.
I don't think much can top what has happened. Can we also just note that, like, then there was that New York Post thing that was like, Vladimir Putin resigned, and everybody was like putting that in with the fucking John Locke shit, and it's like, I don't think this is equivalent, but thank you for informing me.
That's the thing is the New York Post, which is tabloid, so it's not even true.
Yeah.
Like, I think I wrote a post on Tumblr where I'm like, I know that it's untrue, but I'm manifesting this.
I mean, there's a part of me that would love it if for whatever reason we could genuinely just keep making and have them be true memes that Dusty L forced Vladimir Putin into retirement. I just want it for the meme. I don't want it for anything else.
I mean, Vladimir Putin is, like, dictator, so, like, I don't want him.
Yeah. Oh no, Aj, now we're gonna get banned in Russia. We've spoke bad about the Poot. We've spoke bad about Winnie the Putin.
Well, it's okay, I would be dead anyways. In Russia.
In Soviet.
You know why?
Why?
I am gay. Okay,
OMG, same!
Technically, I'm not gay, because technically I'm just aro ace and, like, non-binary, but...
I mean, the easiest way to describe it is, and always will be, gay.
Right. People like, why are you... Because it's just easier. It's so easier to just, instead of being like...
I've had to actually go out of my way to say just asexual, because it is so annoying to explain aro.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I had a case of a guy who, he was just trying to understand, like, because it's one of those things where I don't know why, but men just really seem to think, I've known you for 5 minutes, do you want to go out with me?
Oh, fuck. One of those.
Like, and this happens consistently, or my favorite example was this one dude in college who was trying to woo me by telling me about his Zootopia but just dogs AU.
Oh, boy.
And he was trying to wow me with his world building skills, as he put it, by explaining to me this whole thing, and the entire time he was just trying to lean so much closer, and then he actually forced a kiss, and I had to push him away and say, listen, Chief, I will cuddle and hug you, but if you kiss me, you get punched in the face.
Okay, so one of my friends, my really good friends, she was hanging out with a mutual friend, basically the friend that like introduced us, and then we became best friends and all that. But so so she was hanging out with him, and because she needed some hangout time, and the type of friends that we are is we go on friend dates a lot, right?
Right.
So he didn't tell her that it was a date instead of a friend date. And she didn't know until they were in the taxi, and right as she was about to get out, he kissed her. And so after she did is she pulled back, looked at him, started laughing, and then got out the taxi and just like, no.
No, this ain't it, Chief.
Right.
And
then she refused to talk to him afterwards and just talked to me. So I was like, okay, that's fair.
Like, I don't know why there is this whole thing of just why do people think that any time you go on a date with a person is an invitation to also kiss, even if you're under the impression it's romantic?
I have no idea.
'Cause I'm gonna be real. The idea of just being kissed out of nowhere bothers me, but then again, I also don't like being kissed.
Mm-hmm.
Human lips are gross things, and tongues are just... They're slimy, they're weird. For some reason, you'll always find that one guy who thinks licking your teeth is sexy, and it's like, I'm sorry, you're licking a tooth. I don't know if you know this, Chief, but it's a tooth. You're licking my bones. And, like, that's not the sexy I'm into. Like, I mean, I understand necrophilia is a dying art, but, like,
Ew.
there are easier ways to get bones to lick. Just go buy a skull. That'll get you more closer to what you want. Stop. Get out of my mouth. Ew. Ew, no, this is not the boner I am looking for.
Right? No.
Also, tongues,
Go ahead.
foreign saliva, I'm just like, ew, I don't want another person's wetness in here, it's wet enough. Get out of here with your moist.
Right, like, oh man, like, before I realized I was aro, because, like, during high school, it's like, yeah, I think I'm aro-ish, and then I dated twice, and that was a mistake. And then I realized I was aro, but, like, neither of the people that I dated were ace, and they all were like, let me try to kiss you, and I was like, hey, it was gross. Ugh.
I think the biggest clue to me was that I was aro was genuinely... So, people around me always seem to go to me for dating advice, and I don't get why, but you know what? Fine. But the other thing was, I kind of just kept watching people be in romance drama, and I went, God, that sounds so exhausting. Why would you do that to yourself? Isn't it just more convenient to be in a mutual caring friendship and just live together in the same house? No need for that messy romance. Also, that just seems like a pain. Who needs love?
Right? No, I would always be the person that people would go to for relationship advice. I'm like, why are you going to me? Like, especially in high school, I was like, why are you going to me, the person who is not in a relationship, for relationship advice? I have no idea whatsoever, but okay, here we are. But yeah, no, like, having the forever roommate is just sounds so nice.
Forever roommate sounds so nice. Also, like, I also would be like, I would love that on the grounds, especially because I do love to cuddle, but I want none of the romance that is required to have cuddles. I'm like, can't I just cuddle as friends? I think that's what makes guys, for some reason, think I would be interested in them, is because I'm like, can we cuddle? I like cuddling. I don't get enough of this. I'm touch deprived. Please. much like a rabbit, I will die if I'm not, like, hugged every few hours.
Mm-hmm.
And so, just having people be like, having people be like, oh, this person is fine with hugs, that must mean that they're up for dating. And it's like, no, that's not how it works.
Thankfully, I have a lot of really good friends who, if they're dudes, or like, you know, cishet dudes, they're polyamorous, and so they understand, you know, consent, and, you know, some people don't like to have certain things. And so, like, I literally have, like, dude friends who I'm just like, hey, and they're like, hey, do you want to give it a hug? Do you want to cuddle? It's gonna be completely platonic, and I'm like, yes, please.
I have plenty of those that I know through AzaleaCon, because there is nothing better than going to AzaleaCon. I was so annoyed that it had to get canceled this year because of COVID. Because I had literally just bought my plane ticket. And it's the only thing I look forward to in a year anymore.
I feel that.
I had also just convinced my roommate to come with me, so it meant that I had also just bought her plane ticket.
Oh, fun.
I know, and then the airline was like, we aren't really doing refunds, but we're doing credit vouchers. Just use it before the end of the year. And I'm like, we're in a global pandemic, Karen. Susie, this is a pandemic. Who is traveling? And to where?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have considered my escape to Canada.
Yeah, I have a friend who lives in Canada who's literally been like, hey, I want to make sure you're safe. So if you need anything, just let me know. I can marry you if you're not safe. Just emotional support Canadian who's willing to marry me.
Can I just say, the idea of just the idea of marrying for legal and tax benefits is never not going to be funny to me. Like, that is genuinely my headcanon for Flurry, because, like, in the event that Flynn and Yuri are married, it's because they got married when they were teenagers for tax benefits and for health insurance, and then, like, despite the fact that they said, I want a divorce, they never remembered to actually file the paperwork, so they're still technically married according to legal documents, and that's why, technically, Yuri needs to co-sign on all of Flynn's shit.
I like it.
I know. I also just think that there really should be... People need to stop romanticizing the coffee shop AU.
Oh, God. I can't do coffee shop AU because I used to work as a barista.
I can't do coffee shop AUs just because I know for a fact there is literally nothing romantic about working in a coffee shop. Like, there's nothing romantic about flirting with a barista.
God, when people would flirt with me, oh, it was the worst thing in the world. Oh my God.
Like, it's not, like, one, also, if your barista is flirting back, that's not cute. That's creepy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there is nothing cute about working at a coffee shop and having this one person come in every day asking for the same cup of coffee and your number.
Okay, but, like, you get to be really good friends with your regulars, like, because you, especially if it's dead, and so you get to, like, talk about them. Like, I'm friends with some of my regulars on Facebook, but, like, that's different.
Yeah, no, that's a different kind of thing, but, like, and also, that's not something that goes on and happens at a quick pace. That's a lot of coffees, Chief.
Right.
And,
like, yeah.
Also,
like, it's, but also, like, the amount of people, oh, God. There is one person who, like, literally found me, and I was like, why the fuck did you find me? And then he was messaging me, being like, "Hey, how's it going? Hi, I want to be friends." And then he would send me some weird shit. And then he would be like, "Oh yeah, by the way, I'm on a house arrest, and I have like a little anklet, so I can't leave." And I'm like, "What?
Why are you messaging me, creepy person?
Right?" He was very creepy, very weird, and like when he posted he sent like a cute animal to me, and I was like, "Daw," and he was like, "What's that?" And I'm like, "What?" He's like, "What's daw?" And I'm like, that's onomatopoeia, my dude. Cute.
That says a lot about you, that you don't know the basics of daw.
Right. But yeah, no, he was really creepy. I think I blocked him finally.
Yeah, that's...
Because, like, when I was working there, I would be like, everyone else who was there who could vouch for him was all cishet dudes. So, of course, they were always like, "Oh, he's harmless, oh, he's fine, whatever." And now it's just like, I know he'll talk to them to talk to me about why I blocked him, so I'm like, But now I don't work there anymore, so I'm like, no, okay, I'm just gonna block.
Yeah. There is something about the way that people don't take, like, I don't want to say girls, but like people who pass as girls or are immediately thought of as girls. The way that people don't take that kind of stalking seriously at all, if they can assume your pronouns are she, because it's like, oh, you're just misunderstanding the language of love, and it's like, no, I know a stalker when I see one.
Yep. And that's the thing, is that, like, even though I've had this conversation with this person about me not being non-binary and using they them pronouns, and no, I'm not into you, I'm not into dick, I'm not into anything, you know, always would do like, but I'm the exception.
I'm sorry, like, the only way a person who is not into dick or anything somehow becomes the magical unicorn that breaks its cycle is if literally it turns out you're a unicorn. I'm just saying, that's the only way you're touching that horn.
Right. Oh my god. The amount of times people tried harder, and even though I'm like, "Hey, I'm non-binary," and they're like, "No, you're not." I'm like, and I'm just like, "Ha ha ha! Thank you for telling me how I experience life. Thanks."
Thanks, Chief. I would have never have guessed that my entire understanding of myself was a lie if you hadn't have told me. I guess I'll go change my ways now that you've said, ha ha ha, no you're not. Because clearly, this is the pro-gamer move that will change me forever.
Oh god, the amount of times people are like, "Oh, you're ace? Oh, you're aromantic?"
I
Because
just...
apparently I'm hot, and I'm like, fuck off, I'm not hot. I look like a child. I may be, like, old enough to, like, be 30 soon. That came out wrong. But, like, I'm gonna be 30 soon, and I know I look like I'm a teenager.
Wait a minute, you're that much older than me?
Yeah.
This is what I mean when I say that I have no concept of age.
Okay. Oh. But yeah, no.
I know.
That's the thing, is that it's fine for you, like, you not to know how old I am, because no one knows how old I am besides, like, me and my parents and a few close friends who I've known for so long. But, like, I tell people my age, and the thing is, I don't look my age. I don't sound my age. I don't. Like, this is me actually lowering my voice.
Oh no, because I've heard your voice usually, and it's much higher. It is much squeakier.
Yeah. Like, my voice is usually much squeakier than it is now, and so I look like a 16-year-old. I sound like a 16-year-old. I get regularly asked when I'm gonna, like, what college I'm gonna go to after high school.
Oh my god.
And so when anyone's like attracted to me in like the 5 seconds that I had to like do their, make their drink, I'm just like, one, you look like an adult. That's gross. Because like it's one of those weird things where I'm just like, I know I'm not that I'm an adult. They don't know that I'm an adult, and they're hitting on me.
Well, I'm not gonna lie, I think it's just because of how we talk and everything. I thought you were closer to my age than you are. But then again, I learned the hard way that most of the people I were all way older than me, and I'm still like, God, I talk with actual adults now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, I feel so baby now.
The only reason it's okay, you're fine. No, like the only reason, the only reason I talk the way I do is because I was on Tumblr. And the first time I got on Tumblr, I was like 21 years old. So, I was like, hello, fellow children. And then it just went downhill from there.
God, I mean, everything goes downhill once you get a Tumblr.
Yeah, I am never gonna. So I'm no longer friends with the person who introduced me to Tumblr. through many different ups and downs with this person. But it's a nice little anecdote. I'm no longer friends with them, but the reason why they did that was so that I could get over being broken up with one of my exes that I wasn't even in love with.
I'm not gonna lie, the idea of using Tumblr to get over a breakup is...
It was to distract me.
I mean, I understand the idea of a distraction, but it's like one of those things where it's like... I just kind of sit there and I think, because, it's kind of Tumblr.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think the only thing Tumblr could distract me from is, how much Tumblr is a train wreck.
Yeah, but you have to understand, this was, early 2012, late 2011.
I mean, even back then, it was still a hell site. I literally only got a Tumblr because I got tired of my friends leaning over to look at memes and me not being able to understand what they were saying.
That's very fair. That is very fair. No, I was, yeah. Oh, God, the amount of things I had to go through to not be with that friend anymore, but yeah, no, they were interesting, to say the least.
We've all had the friend that is interesting. I've had quite a few.
Yeah. I mean, they introduced me to Tumblr.
I just kind of can remember the first time I heard things like Super Hulak and everything, and I remember I actually looked at the person who mentioned that to me and went, why? Because, like, even back then to me it was incomprehensible as to why we were doing it, and I mean, I got that it was kind of at first just fandom playing around. And, like, some of the stuff people made was cool. But other times, like, it genuinely got to a worrying degree of, like, do these people actually believe that the showrunners are all talking with each other in a conspiratorial room? Right. Do they think there is an actual room?
They don't even talk to each other, come on.
I mean, God, you think Stephen Moffat has enough, is willing to let his ego subside enough to talk to the Americans?
Please don't get me started on Moffat. I have a lot of Moffat hate. I have so much Moffat hate. I have, if I could,
I have appeared to have pressed the rage button. I know it's not the right way to say your name, but it works. It works. Okay, it's the same letters. It works.
Yeah, no, I understand. And I love when people make puns with my names. Don't tell my parents, because my parents said puns 24/7. So to them, I hate puns. To everyone else, puns are okay.
I mean, that's fair and valid, but know that you have given me too much power, and I will use it.
Good. I mean, I make so many puns with my name. You have no idea. You literally. The amount of puns I make in my daily life to my friends.
Ageless, timeless, endless.
Don't you start. Don't you start. I don't need those images.
That's what I meant when I said you have given me weapon. Choose wisely. I love it when you finally get to a point where you have got everything done for the initial coloring, and then you're like, wow, great, it's all getting ready to be initially colored, and then you just go, now I just have to shade this fucker. And recolor it all again.
Oh, God's right. Sometimes I'm like, maybe I should just do, like, cell shading, and then my inner artist goes, no. You must render.
I can't. Cell shading listen, I can do it if it's 3D, because that's just playing around with a bunch of presets and shit, and it won't look anywhere near the same. But cell shading, just doing a cell shading thing in 2D, I'm like, how do you people look at that and go, yeah, this looks right?
Yeah.
A part of me dies inside, and I never get it back.
That's fair.
I have so much respect for people who can make their entire Tumblr career or their art career essentially just doing cell shading work, because it's like, that's impressive, because you have to genuinely know what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
You can't bullshit your way for that.
No, you can't. You also have to understand how your anatomy is and how you're playing with anatomy. Because, playing with anatomy is always fun to play with anatomy, but like, you also have to have a basic understanding of the human body to be able to play it, and blah blah blah, woof woof woof.
Blah blah blah, woof woof woof.
You've never heard that?
No, I haven't.
Oh, okay. Well, that's what we say here in my house. I don't know if it's a normal thing, or if it's a Minnesota thing, or if it's just my house thing. Considering the fact that my dad had a a brain injury as a kid, where he lost all of his memories before he had that accident, and sometimes he has issues trying to recall words. So we have a few interesting words around the house for different things, because that's just, my dad can't remember, and then he remembers, he has to say something else, and then I also forget words, and then I remember what he said. So we call the microwave the micro zapper. I think that's about the only one that I can think about right now. Oh yeah, my dad also says peanut buster instead of peanut butter.
I mean, that makes sense to me, because I don't know if you're required up where you lived when you did high school to take a language class and everything, but I language for 2 to 3 years. I did Latin, and our Latin teacher, who was a crazy old lady who used to work dismantling nuclear bombs, and had all the wild stories. Her husband had a stroke a few years back and couldn't say the word Tuesday, so he said Christmas tree. So, it would be like, see you Christmas tree. And she sometimes would get in such a habit that the board would say, like, Monday, Christmas tree, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And, sometimes you were certain she was just doing it to fuck with you, because that just was on brand, but, like, it was... I loved her so much. She kept a plastic severed head in the classroom that she called Philip.
Nice.
Yeah, so, she'd pull it up and she'd like, this is Philip's head, and if you're not careful, next will be yours.
That sounds amazing. I love it. Yeah, we had a language class where you had to take a language in high school, whatever, and the only thing is that I decided to take this is gonna really show that how much of a weeb I am. I took Japanese.
Yes, like the true weeb.
Oh god, I was the king of the weebs. Alright, did I ever tell you that?
I mean, I ran the school's anime club, so...
So did I. I was the leader of anime club, and I had been for 3 years because I wasn't there in freshman year, but when I decided, I'll check it out. I was friends with the leaders at the time, who were seniors and juniors respectively, and then they kind of just looked at me and was like, yeah, no, Aj, you're with us, you're a leader now, and I'm like, what? And so, for the next 3 years, I was the leader of anime club, and somehow I literally became the king of the weebs because every day people would come in the beginning of school to my class specifically to hang out before the bell rung, because that's just what I did. I created this giant fucking clique of weebs and nerds. To be fair, it's because what I did was I saw everyone who was on their own at a lunch, and I'd go to them, and I'd sit at their sit across from them, and I'd be like, "So, you don't have any friends? Come to anime club." And they would, and they would make friends, and then I was their leader.
That's wonderful. I was responsible for helping resurrect our anime club from the dead, because our anime club was always in and out of being dead at my high school, apparently.
Hmm?
It had, from what I could understand from the faculty, it disappeared every 3 to 4 years. And then it would come back. But, so I was part of the team that helped reinvigorate it, and, helped run it and helped keep everything smooth. But also, I was just kind of... I literally was the person people would go to for manga like it was drugs.
Oh, same.
They'd just walk up and to be like, so, I heard you had volumes of Ranma. And I'd be like, yeah. What volumes are you looking for? And my favorite thing was I still have them. I have these weird outdated magazines that are I got these from my dad. I'm a second generation weeb, which...
Is it new type?
They're manga gins. Which, it is genuinely this, hey, look at what's going on with Japan right now as we publish this magazine, and it's how I know a lot of really weird, outdated facts about Japan from the 80s.
That's great.
And they're
Did you have a manga library? Basically you were the manga library, because I was the manga library.
I mean, I was the manga library. I was also, in the event that people needed a recommendation, they'd be like, Fel, I'm Jones and Fel. I need a sci-fi anime, Fel. What can I watch? What can I watch? And I'd be like, what are you looking for? What are you looking for? Are you looking for hard sci-fi? Are you looking for soft sci-fi? And I'd be like, you're looking for Captain Taylor.
That sounds about right. Yeah, no, I was also one of those people because I was like, they're like, hey, I don't know if I would like this. Or I'm like, all right, so what do you like? Well, I like this and that. And I'm like, okay, so you like this one. And they're like, what? I'm like, you will like this one. I never thought about that. I know, but you're gonna like this one. And they go, okay. And they read it and they come back and they're like, hey, Aj, I really like that. And I'm like, I told you, you bitch. But I wouldn't say it that way. We'd also play DDR because, oh, this is gonna date me. I graduated high school in 2009. That was like the height of or the downfall of DDR at that time. So we'd play DDR.
I think it says so much that, so I didn't realize, so it says a lot that my mom was like, I thought you were, my mom's like, weren't you popular in high school? And it's like, I ran the anime club, what are you talking about? And she's like, I don't know, you had enough people that knew your name and stuff to sign your yearbook, that's more than I had. And I'm like, listen, being the person that people come to look up anime, and you're like, what's the best pirating site?
Right.
This is not popularity. I am merely the school's drug lord for manga and anime. I'll never forget though, because, so here's the thing. I don't know why this dude did this, but for some reason, so I had a volume of, I know specifically which one it was, because I know it was the one where Ranma's just in a sexy cat bathing suit on the cover, so it's volume 6. I had a she does fan service. She doesn't just make the camera do a fan service shot. She's very much the staunch believer that if you're gonna do fan service, there has to be a logic and a reasoning behind it. And, there's never just a panty shot in Ranma just for the sake of having something sexy.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, that is the goals of a pervert I could follow.
Right. Though also, God. The fact that Rama is Rama half, that's such a genderqueer story. That is such a genderqueer story.
It really is. It really is. I think I also think the funniest thing is that there are multiple times where it's very obvious Ranma could just go back to China, and if he really wanted to, he could, because the series clearly presents it, but he never does. And, in that regard, you're like, in that, you're more okay with this than you actually say. Also, I like that everybody flat out says to, as well, think of how much more interesting your wedding night will be, Akane. And I'm like, one, good dirty joke, but also, yes, good, experiment, be gay, do crime.
Everyone loves being gay and doing crime.
I mean, if you don't like being gay and doing crime, what are you doing with your life?
I have no idea. I don't know how else to be, because all I am is be gay, do crime.
I know for a fact that I cannot actually imagine being straight.
Oh gods, I can't either. It's so foreign to me. No one in my no one in my company is actually straight, so like when someone like assumes that we are, we just get so offended. We're just like, do we look straight? Do we look?
Excuse me. You appear to have the wrong store. This is the gay store. The straight one's that way.
Plus the thing is that we don't even have like a physical location. So when we do like employee meetings, it's literally in the back of a coffee shop and like the back alley of a coffee shop. Because we're all just dirty gremlins in the back alley of a coffee shop, just going "Nyeh," and screaming.
I mean, that's the way to really live in this world. Goals. Aww. There's just the dog yawning behind me.
Yawn.
I love my rugs. I really do.
They're so good. I think my cat was in here for like a little bit, and then she just kind of decided to leave, and I was like, alright, that sounds good. But see, things, I have to keep my door slightly cracked, because otherwise my cat will basically Kool-Aid Man in through the door, because she does not like closed doors. And she will literally like open up my door, look at me, and then walk out.
That's a cat mood. Cats be like, you closed the door, now open it. Open it. You were not supposed to close the door.
Right.
I love characters that are wearing just varying shades of black and gray. Sorry, Art screams. Can we just...
Oh yeah, no, I understand.
Why... You know, I think the thing that I hate most about characters wearing black is that you can't just use black. That's the lie that people fall into. You never use black directly unless you're working with paints, and even then, you're not using it.
You use black sparingly.
Black is not meant to be used in the way that people think black is. Because black is the most volatile tone. Like, white you can recover from. You can recover from white, but black? I drop a black in anything and it's destroyed.
Yep. Besides, you can always make your own black, and it's usually richer.
Yeah. Yeah, like, just, also... Frankly, your colors just will look nicer if you don't use real black.
Right, just use, like, something else. Like, it's different if it's, like, line art and you're using, like, ink, but, like... Like, when I was doing, you know, color theory class and any sort of art class, like illustration 2 or illustration 3 or illustration 1. Yeah, or what was it? Figure painting.
Can I just say, color theory is the most annoying class you have to take.
Oh god, did you have to paint swatches too? Because we had to paint, like, fucking swatches of wash.
Oh, I have stories to tell about my color theory class, because here's the thing. Because of the professor that I got stuck with, I actually had to take the class twice. And here's why. So, this professor, I can only describe him as the closest thing I have seen to a real-life praying mantis. Like, just constantly rubbing his hands together in his red sweater. And...
You know, for the fact that I know that the person that I'm thinking of is in Ringling, I would be like, is that George?
But this professor... So, apparently, the big thing about this dude is the reason he teaches the way he does is he's bitter that because he's like, I should be teaching painting classes. I shouldn't be teaching this foundation course for freshmen, which... Shut up. any professor who has to teach a generic thing like painting, like, not that there isn't skill, but if you're teaching something like painting, you should expect to be doing a dumb foundation class as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, as a professor, you should have known this coming in, but this man was bitter that he had about teaching foundation courses. So, instead of grading on color comprehension, he graded you on your paint strokes. Now, here's the thing. I cannot paint for shit. I am not graceful with a paintbrush. I am clumsy with brush. Brush and I are natural enemies. I look at brush and I think, and brush goes, yeah, same bitch, same. So, this guy also required that we use Golden Brand.
Oh no.
And for the uninitiated, Golden Brand is the most expensive paint you can buy for like, in any generic store. Like, Golden is the bougie brand. Now, it's a good brand if you genuinely are someone who's enthusiastic about your painting. Like, there's no denying that. It's got good pigment. But for a foundations course, no. Je ne sais, no. Spanish for now.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I'm having to, so he required it. I basically borrowed a roommate's empty bottles of Golden and just made sure I had, like, my cheap-ass Amsterdam, because I was like, I'm not spending that much. But he also required us to mix the perfect shade of blue, red, and yellow. We had to mix enough to last us the entire quarter, and if it wasn't perfect, we had to start over.
Okay, but, like, hearing about your like, color theory class and my color theory class, and I'm just like, woof.
And, yeah, but, like, so, you know, the swatches was annoying as fuck. Swatches, like, but the big thing is he, again, graded you on the texture of the paint, so if the swatch wasn't perfectly smooth, D-.
That's, oh god.
If your swatch wasn't perfectly cut, D-. If you, but my favorite thing is this guy consistently would say, you know, despite the fact that your ability to paint is rather bad, atrocious, hideous even, your understanding of color theory is at least good. It's just too bad that you have no talent.
Oh.
Yes, I know. And my favorite thing of all is that we had an assignment where, I don't know if you had to do anything similar to this, but we had to take a picture from a pile and we had to recreate it in a grid format where we only did the most central color that was in that spot on the grid. So essentially, we had to pixelate a painting. For whatever reason, I just chose the first one I could find, which was a pointillism piece, which meant my challenge was already extra hard. And here's the thing. He was impressed. He was like, wow, you truly got the colors right. It's impressive. You can still see the original painting, even though you have blown up the color so much. Wow, you did a great job. It's too bad that these textures are so uneven.
Ugh.
And he looked to the guy next to me, white dude, and said, now this is perfect. It's an unfinished assignment. but it's perfect because the painting is so smooth. I got a 70 on that assignment.
Oof.
He got an A. He got an A, and he got his work shown in the hallway.
Oh, man.
All because his paint was so smooth. And, yeah, like, that's... And we also had to do a thing because for some reason this professor was obsessed. They're plaids, but he's like, we're working on tartans because there's nothing more beautiful about showing you the technique of how color changes than to work on a tartan.
Oh.
So I had to buy a 20 by 20 inch canvas so I could make a plaid.
Mm-hmm.
I had to paint a perfect thing of plaid because I needed to prove, after having spent 4 of my 9 weeks in this class painting plaids, that I could paint a really big plaid.
You know, as much as my school was kind of one of those not good schools, just kind of, like, I always thought it was like just a step above actual going to AI.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm just hearing about this and I'm like, you should have gone to my school because at least our shit was better.
I mean, here's the thing, though. I did have to take this class again. I took it with another teacher, and they were actually completely reasonable. It was literally this one professor, and I found out that this is just what he does. And he's among the list of professors at SCAD that literally just are bitter, mean, and creepy. Like, there is this one professor, I will never forget him because I couldn't believe the things that he said. So, man was from Spain. So, one, he showed up drunk to one class.
Oh, man.
Which was a morning class, so that alone is really telling.
Mm-hmm.
And for anyone who is thinking of SCAD, this is Professor Manuel, by the way. Oh gosh, after this we're gonna have to end because we're actually past the time. But Professor Manuel, or Manny, he would blame you if he lost the project. He would staple your artwork also.
Oh, no.
No, you don't do that. That's a horrible thing to do to someone's hard work. But the other thing is that, there are a lot, I've mentioned this before, there are a lot of foreign exchange students from, South Korea that come to SCAD. Which makes sense, like, a lot of them will mention coming in for the Hong Kong Palace, or others are just like, yeah, I came here because I heard this was a good school, and, like, in many regards, you can learn a lot, and there are a lot of resources at SCAD. Like, no one is made invalid for thinking that SCAD is a good place to come for resources.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you come for the connections.
Yeah.
Which can be said of basically any art school, but the big thing is that, the big thing is that they were speaking Korean and everything, given what was going on and the fact that the professor was explaining, the lesson, and I'd caught on just by listening in context that one of them was really rough with English still. So the other one would constantly, like, parrot things back in Korean to help make sure that they got everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember this, or at least that's what I assumed, because that's what it seemed to be, but, literally, the professor stopped in the middle of explaining the assignment to say, if you're going to speak Chinese, go back to China.
Ooh.
Which, yeah, there's also the life drawing teacher who, has an assignment where it's essentially draw a nude of yourself with a skeleton.
Huh.
Which, like, that wouldn't be bad if it wasn't for the fact that he will dock you if you're a girl for not doing it of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And also, said to a specific, girl in the class who I felt bad for her because she had, she was from Manchester, so, like England, so she had the accent, and it was very thick, and it was very beautiful, and she was extremely pretty. She had supermodel proportions, and she got followed by the professor at a class and told, like, the world would open up to you if you just took off some clothes.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and she told that to me, basically the last day. And it also didn't help that there was this kid that I'd had a few classes with him already. He was Australian. And he was clearly as trustful. My favorite thing was, like, there was one day where I immediately knew he was legit looking at my skirt because he made a comment on the shorts I was wearing.
Huh.
And here's the thing, I was wearing very colorful and cutesy shorts, but you can only see them when I'm sitting. If you make an effort, like, you would have to stoop.
Oh, my fucking God.
And he also, and also, the thing is that this guy legitimately was perving on the fellow girls in the room, and, like, they actually would say to me, like, yeah, we make a point of changing out of our nice clothes before this class because of him. Because I got stuck with him again for a second class. But the best part was he was like, yeah, we're friends, we're great friends. And I looked him dead in the eye and went, you looked up my skirt. And it was like, I was just giving you a compliment. And he'd be like, I'm a fashion marketing major. I just need to know about the fashion. And I'm like, and I kind of just, I didn't say it, but I was thinking it the entire time, like, you're wearing socks with sandals. I don't care if they're those Gucci slips thingies or whatever they're actually called. You're wearing socks with sandals. Okay, that hasn't been in style since the Roman era. Okay. Also, you dress for a person who claims to be into fashion marketing. You dress so shittily. You do not dress like any other fashion kid I knew at this school. This guy just. But my other favorite thing was he tried to pretend that he was getting out of class and shit because he had a broken rib. And he left to get out of class early one day because he was like, I've got a doctor appointment for a broken rib. And I'm like, I looked him in the eye and went, it's very interesting that you have a doctor's appointment for getting a broken rib treated that is apparently going on at 7:30 on a Wednesday.
Don't you love that type of people?
I know.
Thankfully, most people are weeded out so fast in my school. So fast. Within the first semester, they've already dropped out. It was
like,
great.
I hated him so much, especially because he just kept bragging. He kept bragging, and he got away with leaving that class early that day because the professor only cared if you were a woman.
Oof.
Like, he did everything in his power to not put guys' artwork out in the hall, even if literally the only person who was in a major that had them, like, most of the girls in that class were equestrian majors. So a fair amount of them weren't really that good at drawing. Because SCAD's big thing after fashion and jewelry, and big thing aside from fashion, jewelry, and animation is actually equestrian.
Huh.
Yeah,
Why are they taking those then? Because I know the foundations for the different things in, say, my school was different from, like, fashion and stuff.
SCAD keeps everyone doing the same foundations and everything so that, because they do believe that even if it may not directly apply, it can help you understand and know things that you didn't before. Like, I actually understand why they want people to have an understanding about, like, things like principles of design and everything, even if what they're going to be doing is essentially horse husbandry.
Okay, that's fair.
And also, it's supposed to make you appreciate, like, I don't mind that I was made to take 4 art history courses, except for 20th century. Like, I understand why it was important. I understand why they did this. I understand what it was about. I mean, we all know that most modern art, though, is horrible, excusing Kandinsky. But, the only good art is Kandinsky. Pablo Picasso, I do not get the appeal.
I understand.
I get it, but also part of me is like, really? Really? This is the guy that is going to be so renowned and well known? We have better names, Or just my favorite of, well, you see, it was painted on a really big canvas.
It was so big, and it was great.
Like, I'm not saying the big dick insecurity applies to basically all modern art, but the big dick insecurity applies to basically all modern art.
God, is it ever?
I love that. So, I find that my favorites are all people that, like, people go, who at? Like, I love Paul Klee, and most of his works are not on, most of the works that I ended up looking at and really liking, they weren't done on big canvases. Like, my favorite was Fish Magic, a inherently whimsical name for a great piece that, like, because Klee's whole thing was he made such inherently simple drawings that looked like a child could do them, but you could see that artistic mastery if you knew what to look for. Because, like, these lines are too secure for an actual child. This tone, this beauty. Yes, this is good art. This is how the art do. But then but like, all of his best works were on small canvases, and everybody, and then I look and I see this, like, the one that gives me the most rage is, like, the Red Studio, or whatever it is called, the one where it's just a studio thing, and it's just hideous, and it's like, it looks like a child drew this. But everybody's like, well, you don't understand. This was like a 20-foot canvas. And it's so big, and it's so red. And I'm like, the paint hasn't even been evenly applied. And they're like, it took them so long to do this. And I think of when I went to the Austin walk-around art alley, and there was one particular gallery that was, I can only describe it as angry millennial art. And it literally was full of things like, of course I'm happy, I have 20,000 followers on Instagram. And like, they were charging $120 for a graph that said time spent on phone, all of the time, like a circle graph, this is time spent on phone, essentially the whole graph, and then like actually managing oneself, and they're like, and I looked at him like, it's not even a perfect circle, and I'm like, you can see where the paint wasn't applied.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, somebody, and then the worst part is there were so many people walking around going, wow, this is so clever, and I'm like, I just wanted to grab their faces and go, morons! All of you are morons!
Did I ever tell you? Oh, God. Alright, so when I moved back to Minnesota, one of the only places I can find work is at a modern art museum.
Oh.
But the thing is, I wasn't really doing modern art stuff. All I was doing was I was setting up events at the Modern Art Museum because they always had rich people being there doing events.
Right.
Because, of course.
Because rich people need to stand in front of expensive art to make themselves feel better about themselves.
Exactly. and so we actually had this one thing where, you know, it was called like Rock the Garden or some shit, where it was they had like DJ Jazzy Jeff, and like a ticket costs over $1,000 for a ticket. And like, so I basically what I did was I set up events and I took them down, and like sometimes I was, you know, catering for that stuff. But like, let me tell you, I've had to go past modern art so often, and it was so stupid. Like, I cannot tell you how much I hated it. The job paid really well, but I hated it.
The thing that annoys me is that it's not that modern art is inherently bad. It's that most of it is genuinely a trap to trick rich people into thinking it's more impressive than it actually is.
Dude. So one of my illustration teachers, I love him, by the way, he's great. His name is Steven. If anyone's going to Academy of Art University, his name is Stephen Clover. Take his art history classes; they are amazing because he literally was like, he looked at this whole class as like, all right, I know some of you are not going to like this, and this is going to be a bad take, but this is the truth. Fine art is just an extension of architecture. Because all it is all you need to do is if you follow trends for what people paint their living rooms, you will be able to sell your art because they want things to match.
It's sad, but it's true. It really, I hate how much that is true. I hate that I immediately understood that. I hate that I immediately got what he meant.
Right, and so he was just sitting there in front of this class, just spouting his thing about, like, he's like, yeah, no, fine art is literally just an extension of architecture and, like,
home decor.
Home decor. And so, and he just went off on them, and I was like, Damn!
Yeah, no, like, you wanna know why people aren't into fancy-ass portraits of, like, angels and shit? That doesn't go with their modern home design, okay? What goes with their modern home design is this one guy who just painted really giant squares on a canvas.
Because it fits. It fits with their whole thing. And so people, when I tell people this, they're like, what? And then I tell artists and they're like, yeah, that tracks.
Like, I hate how much it tracks, because, like, I'm immediately thinking pop art, surrealism, abstract art, I'm thinking of who got popular, I'm thinking of why that got popular, and I'm thinking of that, and I'm just like, yeah. Yeah.
Right. And so, oh god, like some of the teachers that I had were just like savages like that, and I love them.
I mean, I loved professors that genuinely just told you how it was. God, part of me just feels like it died inside hearing that, because I'm just thinking about how hard it is to make art that feels profound and everything once you realize how art actually works.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause, like, I feel like anyone who says that their art is a profound statement is just a pretentious asshole at this point.
Oh my god, like, if anyone says that about my art, I'm like, no, I don't think you understand. My art is just basically me being a gremlin and going,
I mean, I did a project that was genuinely, so, it was for, 3D principles of design, so, you know, sculpting and shit, and, I had to make, I had to make something that was recontextualizing an everyday object, and I looked at the professor and I went, am I allowed to do something that is not necessarily school appropriate? And he was like, what do you mean, like adult? And he went, yeah, I don't really give a shit. And so I made a Fabergé dildo.
Nice.
I used foam and I used hard sculpt foam, and I made myself a beautifully bejeweled and finely decorated bedazzled dildo. But here's the thing, though, is because we had to do this in class and everything, is I made sure that every moment I did made you think about the fact that that was a dildo. I did everything in my power. I made sure to hand paint it, both because I was like, why would I waste my time pulling out a paintbrush for this, but also because it meant I could stroke it up and down, covering it with white. I made sure, like, I also made sure to make sure it would dry faster. I blew on it, and I just kind of waved my hands over it. And I did everything in my power to make sure that people were aware of what they were looking at. I made sure it was fabulous. I made sure there was weirdly a picture of a duck on it. I just did everything I could to make this the most beautiful thing I could. And at the end of the day, when it was time for display, and everybody has to give their comments on the piece, the room was, like, I was the last one to present. I made sure to sit at the end of the line. And everybody had to look at that dildo, that beautiful Fabergé dildo, and the professor had to look everybody in the eye and go, so, what do we think about this? And what it says about the world in recontextualizing a dildo? And the best part was how much time people spent trying to make it sound like it was anything more than a dick joke. And then they were like, well, let's hear it from the artist's mouth. And I just looked at them like, everyone, I would like to thank you for coming to my Andy Kaufman-esque performance. And this has all been just one very long and hard-played dick joke. And the thing is the professor looked me in the eye and went, "You get an A," and I wish I could put this out in display in the hallway, but I can't.
Hey, you know, your teacher probably was like, I get so many pretentious-ass things, and you finally gave me what I wanted.
He looks so happy to see this. He was snickering. He was snickering because he knew, he understood. He looked at it and went, and he was like, you know, but my favorite thing is he kept asking me for the deeper meaning, and I'm like, there is no deeper meaning. There is no deeper meaning. I saw an opportunity and I took it. That's all you need to know. I came, I saw, I conquered.
Right. Okay, so I'm sending you one of the things I was doing, because of course I have to jump around because if I can't just do one thing at a time, no, that would just be too silly.
No, brain doesn't like focus.
And so because I don't like brain doesn't focus, my brain was like, do a self-portrait. So I'm sending you my self-portrait that I did.
Oh, nice. And I will bring it up on screen just so people can see, and then they can know that you are amazing art.
Oh, thank. It's literally made me a gremlin.
I mean, you are my favorite gremlin.
Oh, you.
Yeah. Okay. It's 12:30. We are a half an hour overdue for stopping. I'm reminded of all of the jokes about, yes, I'll go home now. Stops at the car to talk. Stops at door to talk. Okay.
You mean the Midwestern goodbye?
Yes.
Am I not from the Midwest? Am I not in Minnesota? Am I not doing the great Minnesota goodbye? You come to my house. You talk to me about my things.
Like all great Midwestern goodbyes, it also takes up another hour of your time.
God, does it ever? Especially when you're like, oh, but like this, and like, okay, so I need to go, but I need to quickly tell you this, and then they remember something, and then you remember something, and then, you know.
And that's how you lose the time war.
It's true. It's true. It's true.
So, this has been my amazing guest tonight, Aj.
Hi.
They are an awesome artist. You can find them, let me pull up the info. You can find them over at Tumblr, Instagram, Twitter, all under the same handle of...
Branding
of Agelefae. They are an awesome artist. I recommend looking at their work. They're really good.
Thank you. Thank you.
And thank you to everyone who came. Next week, I don't think I'm gonna do a attempt to do this podcast every night, because I've realized that this was the dumbest idea that I probably could have done to attempt a podcast 3 nights in a week.
That's fine.
But it was great having you.
Thanks for having me. Thank you for being like, hey, do you want to be in this? And I was like, yes.
Thank you for talking with me about... I think it's funny, we said we'd talk art, and then we mostly just talked about why it sucks to be Arrow.
Maybe someday we'll actually talk about art.
Maybe someday we'll make our entire rant about why Dadaism is both misunderstood and the worst.
But also the best, but the worst, but the best, but the worst.
I love Dadaism, but unfortunately, Dadaism is what happens when shitposting is taken seriously.
Oh, God.
And with that, so I've been your host, Felonous Felone, a slime monster made of peanut brittle and swabs, and this has been my gremlin who steals your toenails and your buttons and lint, Aj.
I will live in your attic. and steal all of your pen caps.
Please do. I'd love you here. This has been us signing off.